Welcome to Season 3 of You're Not Alone with Townsend. My name is Townsend, and if you've followed my journey, you know that I'm not only a musician, but I'm also a mental health advocate. I use my platform to help spread awareness, love, build community, and simply help people feel less alone in their struggles. In the last couple of years, I've had the chance to interview people from all over the world about a huge variety of mental health topics, and I cannot thank each of you enough for helping us continue to shine a light on the world. Every other week this season, we're bringing you the best interviews we've had. Make sure to like and follow this podcast if you're enjoying it. And if you want to keep up with everything we've got going, follow us on socials at Townsendtmusic. Hope you enjoy. What is up, guys? Thanks for listening to this episode of You're Not Alone with Townsend. It is, of course, your host, Townsend. Excited about this episode today. We've got our friend Lydia Barnes on here. I caught a live from TikTok with this girl and her mom, and she's just a ray of light. So I'm so excited to get to chit-chat with her. We're going to be talking about all different things. We're going to be, of course, touching on mental health. We're going to be talking about something called dwarfism. We're going to keep going, see how Lydia lives her life to the fullest. And so, Lydia, thank you so much for joining us. It is such a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, gosh, it is such an honor. Absolutely. You're just so cute. I love your lives. You hop on there and you're just making origami and you're in the best mood. And so I feel like you were just such a light. And so I had to have you on here to just share, how are you so positive all the time? What did it take to get here? I just love it so much.
Goodness. Oh, I don't even know where to start on how to stay positive all the time. I say having a great support system definitely helps in general in life. True. So it takes a village.
Isn't that true? Absolutely. I always like to let my guests kind of introduce themselves. So who is Lydia? So age, job, state, whatever you want to share, whatever you want my listeners to know about you. What you got?
I'm 23. I live in Washington State. I am a licensed esthetician as well. So if you don't know what a licensed esthetician is, I work with skincare and hair removal. I've had that license for a few years now. And now I'm just doing TikTok full time with my mom, and I hang out with my family quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, that is too cool. I didn't even know that. One, I didn't know you were in Washington. That's the cool thing about social media is you connect with these people all over the world. So how cool. So I'm in Arkansas. Have you ever been out there?
I've never been, but I do have family there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. I need to fly out to Washington State. I know it's beautiful. I've been to Washington, D.C. on the other side of the country.
Okay. We get mistaken for that a lot.
All the time. Even in conversation here, people think it's the same thing. Okay, Lydia, let's hop right into it. So let's jump into dwarfism. So this is something that I haven't seen you directly address on your TikToks, but it's very obvious that you and your mom are on there and having a good time. What exactly is that? Let's define that for people.
You want to help me with that one, Nancy? Here's my mom for here.
Nancy, okay. So Nancy's the mama.
Hi, guys. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, we're excited that Lydia gets to be here and do this today. This is awesome.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Absolutely. So yeah, what does that look like? Let's define that for people that are listening. Are you enjoying this conversation? This project is funded by patrons and sponsors. So if you like what you hear and you'd like to help us continue changing lives in 2024, we would love to have you join the family. Reach out to us at townsendtmusic@hotmail.com if you'd like to be a sponsor, or hop on patreon.com/townsendtmusic to join the patron family. As a thank you, you're going to receive extra podcast questions and content every episode, discounts, exclusive content, and so much more. So join the family and let's continue changing lives.
So dwarfism, there's when we had her, there was over a couple hundred different types of dwarfism. Basically, it affects bones mostly. It can affect a lot of different things. It's a skeletal dysplasia is what it is. And Lydia has the most common kind of skeletal dysplasia. It's called achondroplasia. When she was born, there might have been one person like her born in Washington State where we live. A year like her. So it's very rare, like 1 in 25,000 or so, but it is the most common kind. So when we go to little people events and do different things, you'll see different kinds of people from all over with different types of dwarfism. So
Okay.
for her day-to-day life, like when we had her, we didn't know she was going to be a little person. They just told me, I said, what should I do? And they said, just take her home and love her. I was like, well, naturally, but then I was also kind of like, there should be more to that. But they didn't
Right.
tell me, probably because it could scare you. Lydia has been fortunate to be very healthy,
Okay.
for the most part. So we haven't had to deal with a lot of surgeries and things. She has friends that do. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So basically, it affects your development physically.
Yes, my arms and my legs and my cranium specifically for my type of dwarfism. So my limbs are shorter and then my cranium is just a little bit larger.
Okay. So people have to have surgery, huh?
Yes. So sometimes there's spinal surgery, there's leg surgeries. They have to get a stint, is it a stint?
For hydrocephalus, like they
Right.
can like
Hydrocephalus.
water in their
Yeah.
brain tissue. And
There's a lot that goes with it. Again, though, I was very fortunate to not have all these medical issues.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to it.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize that as well. You know, that we have these reality TV shows that talk about little people and all these different things, but you don't think about the reality of it, right? Like you have to have all these surgeries and there's a lot that goes with it. Ms. Nancy, you were talking about how they were just kind of like, go home and love her. When you were getting tests done showing that you were pregnant and how the pregnancy was going, were they able to tell something was different? No. Okay.
no, not until like 2 days before she was born. So I was a week from my due date.
Oh,
So
wow.
like they do when you're pregnant, like at about 6 months, they do an ultrasound just to kind of see. And development at that point was average. So they didn't see any things that were different about her. And then I went in towards the end because I was getting rather large and they just wanted to do one more ultrasound like a week before my due date. And I knew when the technician was coming in and out that something wasn't okay. My heart leaped. And they came back to me and just said to get a hold of my doctor right away. So I did. And then my doctor told me that I had to go to the University of Washington, which is a very big hospital here. They train doctors. So it's a doctor training type hospital here in Washington State. The very next day and do an ultrasound. They had to do different types of ultrasounds. They pulled my husband and I into a little tiny room. I will never forget this, but they pulled us into a little tiny room with a little table, like a sliding door. It was like only big enough for 3 people.
Yeah.
After the testing, and they told us that Lydia was not going to be compatible for life. That from everything they could see, her lungs weren't developed, her rib cage didn't go around. There was a lot of development that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave us the option to either have a C-section or to have her naturally. And they just checked me in right there and I had her naturally. So I went through labor and delivery right then and there. I mean, so, prior to this, everything I'd been healthy. So she came out, long story short, I guess. There was 20 or 30 like neonatal type doctors ready to like help her breathe. They thought she would live maybe a couple seconds. And she came out screaming. And I'll never forget the doctor saying, and my husband too, there's nothing wrong with her lungs.
Right.
Obviously, clearly, there's nothing wrong with her lungs.
Yeah.
I am.
Within a couple hours, they had us on the normal delivery floor. And they were able to diagnose her right away with achondroplasia. And basically, she was more ready to go home than I was at that point.
Yeah, I bet.
So it was kind of a very whirlwind of emotions. And then I ended up just quitting my job and staying home with her. And her and I have worked together. She's either worked with me in my home daycare, the centers I've started, or now we work together on social media across like 4 different platforms. So we've been together ever since.
Yeah. So y'all are bestie. That's it. You about gave your mom a
Yeah.
heart attack and now you're paying
Yep.
for it. Now you get to stick with her. Yeah. Man, how crazy. So they thought you would make it a few seconds and 23 years later, here you are.
Yep.
How
Here
cool.
I am.
Wow.
Still very
What a
proud.
miracle. Literally using your voice as your job. That's so cool. Wow,
Yep.
that's amazing. So is dwarfism the big umbrella of it? Is it genetic, hereditary? Do they know anything about it?
So I did not get it hereditarily. I don't know exactly. I know there's like a chromosome that happens. It's a mutation from the dad's side. usually, and so it's like what is it? A double dominant gene,
Gotcha.
and so that's what happens. But I'm the only little person in my entire family.
Wow. Okay. That's what I was going to ask. Did you know anybody else in your family maybe far down the line or nothing? Okay. So
I don't
it's
think so.
genetic somehow. You just like
Yes.
happen to draw the right genetic composition. Okay. Does it affect, do you know if it affects more males than females, or is it kind of split down the center?
I think it's split down the center. I know quite a few little people. We're actually going to a convention later tonight.
Oh, no
So,
kidding.
but there's, yeah, and there's I think it's split down the middle.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I've seen equal males and equal females. So I haven't seen a difference in it. Okay, very cool. So speaking of, you keep saying little people. I know for me, the reality shows, they have the little people reality shows, and that's how they refer to them. And they have average size people and little people in the family. What's your input as far as a respectable term or reference? So if like people refer to you, do you want them to say a little person? What would be a good way to address that?
That would be the most preferred way, is a little person, someone with dwarfism, or someone with shorter stature would be, but little person is usually the most preferred.
Little person. Okay. How tall are you, Lydia?
I'm 4'3". I'm actually
4'3".
taller.
Okay. I was going to say.
Sorry, my dog's in the background.
Oh, that's okay. Mine is breathing incredibly loudly beside me, so I totally get it. I was going to say, I feel like I've met people that have dwarfism, and they're like 3 foot. Like they're tiny, tiny. Okay. 4'3" is not terrible.
Not at all. No. I've been told by my doctors that I'm actually taller. So what is it? The not the BMI, but
you're on the scale, like they do the
I know there's like a technical like medical
the
term, like when they measure
whatever.
people. Yeah. I'm in the taller end. So
okay, very cool. So a conference you were talking about, is that in Washington?
Yes. No, so the conference is national. So it's all over the country. They choose a different state, like a different city from a different state every year. It's about a week long. And this year is in Baltimore. And so people from all over the world come over, and there's going to be about at least 2,500 little people there.
How cool. Like, what an amazing support system.
It's an amazing thing to do. Being around people that are just similar or go through similar things as you makes you feel like you're equal. And it's honestly, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Wow. Lydia, do you have any siblings, or are you an only child?
I am the youngest of 7 kids.
Shut your mouth. Okay. So all the other 6 are typically developing.
Yes, exactly. My brother, who's next up from me, he's actually 6'7".
Oh my gosh. What? That is wild.
Yep. And my oldest sister is 6'3". So
there was a significant difference in your family photos.
Oh yeah. We go up and down. All of us.
I can only, okay. So I'm sure this affected your growing up. You're different than your siblings, especially 6 of them. And not only are you different, I mean, they're large people. How did this affect you mentally? Because, I mean, we always touch on mental health. What did it look like for you growing up as a kid?
Oof. Well, I didn't actually know that I was a little person until I was like 8 years old. My brother told me. Leave it up to the brothers. Thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were at a little person event, and we were camping with a bunch of little people, and I didn't know. I was just having fun, and my brother, he was trying to dig at me. He's like, "Oh, you're a little person, you know that, right?" And apparently it stunned me like crazy.
Oh.
But growing up, I have developed really bad anxiety.
Yeah.
Really bad anxiety. I'd say I didn't get bullied as much as some people do growing up and stuff like that, but I definitely had more anxiety, and I don't know. Huh? Yeah, sometimes I'm left out of things, like things that people would be like, oh, she might not want to go, or she probably can't do this because she's little. When in reality, I'm like, I just want to be included.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Or
like even standing in a circle of friends, and that they're all talking, and they're all taller. And so they'll be like in a circle, and I'll just be like on the outside of the circle, like, hello.
Yeah. And that's stuff that people wouldn't even think about. Yeah, absolutely. So did you go to public school, or were you homeschooled?
I went to public school my whole life. Well, until high school, I had some issues, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like, and we've touched on this with a bunch of other guests. So public school kids, they can be really cruel because they see something different outside of themselves. And again, which is why we do the podcast anyway, to spread awareness. So I can imagine, you said you didn't get picked on as much as other people, but I'm sure kids were cruel, maybe not even meaning to be, but just curiosity and difference and things like that. That is
Absolutely.
tough.
Especially when it came to like dating. I found that guys, when I was in school age, they were a lot more afraid of even considering the fact that a little person wanted to date them or a little person had a crush on them. And so they would almost like get like rude about it and like start bullying me for it. Like, oh no, I'm like, no. And so it was like things like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I made quite a few friends, but
yeah,
people are people.
People are people. Absolutely. That's why I love that a lot of my guests hop on social media or their websites or whatever, and they're just like, hey, listen, I am who I am, and this is what it is. Like either you accept it or you don't. And I love that. I feel like it's really shining a light on everyone is different, and like you don't have to pick on people, right?
Exactly.
So you were talking about you kind of developed some anxiety, which I can only imagine. I feel like we all do in some way, shape, or form. What did that, as a kid, what did that look like? How did you realize like you were having anxiety?
Oh, we didn't realize until I was like 16 that I had anxiety, but I've had it since I was younger. But it looked like a lot of like stomach aches and tantrums in the morning, like, but we wouldn't know why. Like, I would not ever want to go to school. I would not want to leave my mom's side. I would like literally be on her leg screaming and crying, like they had to pry me off of her. It was so bad. And every single morning I would get a stomach ache, and they always like, oh, you're just crying wolf, you're just crying wolf. I'm like, no, I have a stomach ache. And it was just like that my whole childhood. School was very hard for me to get to.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you're getting
I
like
was a regular in
stomach
the nurse's
ulcers.
office. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. Kids, like, they're not faking. They literally make themselves sick. They're so anxious. God, that's so sad. Okay, so fast forwarding to kind of becoming an adult and figuring life out, how does this affect your day-to-day living? Like what, we talked about your siblings are a typical height and size. How did that affect you getting around and modifying your day-to-day around the house?
So we just make sure I have a lot of stools, just because we can't really modify like all of our furniture and stuff, since the majority of us are taller.
Yeah.
Or of them are taller. And,
I mean, your brother wouldn't fit.
Oh,
your
yeah, no.
6'7" brother couldn't fit on anything tiny.
Not at all. No, that would just imagining him.
Yeah, it's like a Barbie doll house.
It would just use lots of stools, and I climbed the counters quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then driving, I have pedal extensions now. So those pretty much, they screw onto the regular pedals and they extend, and then you just get a platform so you can rest your feet. I put pillows too behind me, so I can drive closer to the steering wheel. And when it comes to that, we actually have to get our airbags removed because of it. Because of also we are so tiny. So if the airbag were to go off, it would just be fatal.
I did not realize that. Okay. Interesting. So wow. Okay. That's good to know. That's kind of neat to know. So just climbing cabinets and stuff like that, just kind of figuring out how to work around the real world.
Exactly. Just every day is like that.
Yeah. I bet you were so clever. Like you're like, I'll figure out how to get that down. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah. I didn't like asking for help quite a lot. Like I like doing things myself. It makes me feel more in control.
Yeah, and independent. I mean,
yeah, independent.
Yeah, like do it myself. Absolutely. Speaking of that, I've had people on here that have been disabled or even like wheelchair dependent, and they talk about how someone touching their wheelchair is just insanely disrespectful. And they're like, don't do that. Is there anything for you that you wish people did more of or less of? So, for example, if we were in the grocery store and there was something you were reaching for, is it disrespectful for someone to just get it down for you without asking?
Without asking, yes, but it depends. I think it depends, honestly. Like, like if it's obvious that I'm not going to be able to reach it and you see me, that would be a very kind gesture. But if it's just like, oh, you're assuming that I can't reach it when I actually could have, then there's a line there. There's definitely a line.
Yeah.
Something that happens a lot though while I'm in public is people will pat me on the head.
What?
And I'm like, can we not do that? Or they'll reach over you, like you'll be looking at a shelf and they'll reach over you to grab what they want, and they won't say excuse me or anything, and it really bothers me.
Wow.
I know it bothers a lot of us.
Yeah, that's something I would have never thought about. Like, duh, of course, don't reach over someone. That would tick me off if someone reached over my head.
Yes, it happens a lot. Me and my friend were just shopping for our convention this week. And we were looking at the clothes on the lower rack, and someone just came right right there behind us and was just digging like this, and we're right here. And I'm like, we literally looked up at her and said, excuse me, like,
yeah.
And then she's like, oh, these are adults. Like,
yeah, right.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And then patting you on the head, like, what? No.
It happens more than you'd think. Like, people pat me on the head. They'll put their arm on my head, like rest it. My sister does that all the time.
Siblings are different. Siblings are different.
But when somebody else like just pats me on the head or like goes like this, like I'm a kid or a dog, I'm like, can we not?
You kind of want to Judy chop them, don't you?
Exactly. Like,
yeah, I get that. I could not imagine people patting my head, Lydia.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, that would make me so upset. Man, that's really interesting. Okay. Reeling it back in, I love that you guys have the conference and the convention. That is so cool. Where do you feel like you found the most support? So you said your brother told you when you were younger, hey, you're a little person, you go through life. I'm sure it's lonely, especially your siblings being huge. Where do you feel like you found the most support for Lydia?
We have what we call chapters. And so we'll actually have like little regions and areas of like our big organization. So we have chapters is what we call it. So it's about like it's like one of our counties. It's a county. And it's everyone from the county kind of meets up, and we have little meetings, and it's definitely a great support system. My mom had entered me into that when I was a baby. So I've always had that. And through that, I met my best friend who actually only lives 30 minutes away from me, so I'm very blessed because that doesn't happen very often. We had play dates, and she's saying we had play dates. And so I had that a lot when I was younger. And she's still my best friend to this day. So.
Yeah. So when you have a county meeting or a county club, how does that work if a type of dwarfism is so rare? Like, is there more than just you in your county? How does that work?
Oh, yes. So like in my county, it's mostly achondroplasia, but there are several other types of dwarfism as well. I don't know how to explain it very well, but
so there's several people that are in this little chapter.
Oh yes, several people. I think my chapter is one of the largest.
Okay, that is so cool. See, my luck would be I'd sign up for this chapter and I'd show up and it'd be just me. Like that would be my luck. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's at least 20. There's got to be more than 20.
Wow.
Regionals.
Oh, we're talking about chapter. There's a lot in our chapter. And then we have regionals, and then we have nationals.
Yeah,
so it just gets bigger and bigger.
That is so cool. Okay. That is so cool. I love that. That is so neat. Well, let's go ahead and talk about now. So Lydia, now you're 23 years old. You're you have figured life out. You know what annoys you. Like, don't touch your head. That's weird. What does self-care look like for you? Like when you get anxious, or how do you kind of avoid getting anxious? Or maybe the TikTok fame is too much. What helps you kind of re-energize?
So I myself, I meditate through art a lot. But I do take medications for my anxiety, and then I went through therapy as well. So therapy helped a lot. Just helping, like giving me the coping mechanisms that I need, and just how to articulate my words a little better the way that I need to, with confidence. TikTok, I think, is helping me a lot with with not being so introverted, but with my social anxiety. So my social anxiety has always been really bad. So TikTok has helped push me out of that box for sure. And I use that as a form of self-care. When it comes to just self-care, it's just like anybody else though. take care of yourself with your hygiene, you eat well, you drink water, you just make sure you're keeping up on everything.
Boy, isn't that true? Yeah. I feel like social media, like I do music full time and this podcast full time. And I don't think people realize social media is a lot of work. I mean, it's a full time job. And so sometimes I could imagine, for me especially, so I can imagine for you, it gets to be overwhelming. Like you almost have to take a mental break from the expectations of people online. Do you find yourself doing that sometimes?
Yes. So I try to post every day, but like even this week, I haven't been posting as much just because it is a lot of interaction and it is a lot of being emotionally empathic because people, they feel safe with you. And so they share their life stories with you or their traumas with you. And they expect you every day to be that person for them, especially when you do post as much as I do. They look forward to it. And so that for me, I have to put myself up on like a pedestal, and it's hard to keep myself up there because I also am human. I have all my own things I'm going through, and then to take care of everybody else, it becomes a lot.
Yeah, you worded that perfectly. There are seasons where I kind of go through that, especially with the You're Not Alone project. I mean, people feel like, oh, you can handle everyone's trauma. You know what I mean? It's a lot of burden to carry. And
It is.
I think
Yeah.
people don't realize that as well with social media.
When I do my live streams, and I try to go twice a day, and sometimes it's hard because you got to keep talking the entire time, and then you've got like 300 people in your chat, and they all want to talk to you at the exact same time, and you try to get to everybody and make sure everybody's happy. It's a lot of work.
Ooh, isn't that right? Wow. Okay, so you're actually you don't really like socializing. You're an introvert, huh?
I'm extremely introverted. I'm pushing myself.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Good for you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget to take care of yourself in the meantime, because that's a lot.
Exactly.
I get that. Yeah. I love that. You were talking about you went to therapy and you learned some coping mechanisms and strategies. Is there one, like for me, I love something I learned through therapy and my counselor friends is like the 5 senses. So like 5 things you hear, 4 things you see. I love that one. Is there one that works best for you?
That one's probably one of my favorites, honestly. Just remembering to take deep breaths. Also, I journal and I do checklists, and I make sure that if like I'm like worried I don't have everything done that I need, I make sure that I check things off, and it kind of goes, okay,
yeah,
we're a lot more centered in than we thought we were. And then I also have to remember like what's actually going on around you and what's going on in your head. So like what's actually happening? Is this actually happening? And if you were to stop worrying about it, what would happen? And so it really helps kind of just go, oh yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then I do pray a lot too. I have a really strong faith. So I think that helps.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of the what ifs instead of the right nows. Yeah, girl, I feel that deep down in my soul, Lydia. Absolutely. Yeah. You worry about what might come and it may not even ever come. Yeah. Something we didn't touch on, but thinking about like how well spoken you are and you went to public school, does the type of dwarfism that you were diagnosed with, can it affect your developmental stages? Like mentally, could it affect how well you learn or how well you communicate?
No. So actually, so with my dwarfism specifically, it does not. I'm not certain on other types of dwarfism.
Sure.
But with mine, it does not. You just learn like everybody else does. But I think the only thing that would have a toll is just the anxiety of being smaller and thinking about that. And then just being treated like you're younger by your adults or your peers. It kind of forms you to be younger as you grow up.
Sure. Yeah. I get that. Absolutely. Okay, Lydia, as we kind of wrap it up, what's something you wish people knew about dwarfism? What's something, if they were to take something away from this podcast, what would it be?
One thing I always like saying is we're human just like you. If you meet a little person, just say hi, ask them what their name is, and become their friend. Or if you don't want to, that's okay. But just become their friend. We genuinely just want to be seen like everybody else, and we just want to get through life like everybody else does and just have a good time.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Lydia, thank you so much for joining, and your mom for hopping on here. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome to be able to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You'll have to come back. Let us know how the conference goes and everything. I love that. That is so cool.
Absolutely.
Everybody that's listening, you know how this works. So Lydia and I are going to keep chatting on my Patreon. So we do extra questions on my Patreon every episode just to kind of get to know them a little bit better. If you want to hop on there, hop on patreon.com/Townsendtmusic. That's actually how we keep this podcast and this project going. If not, we will catch you next time.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, visit patreon.com/Townsendtmusic. And don't forget, you can also watch the interviews on our YouTube channel at Townsendtmusic YouTube.
If you're looking to buy or sell, I have the perfect realty company for you. Clark & Co. Realty is located in the Benton, Bryant, Arkansas area. And they understand that buying or selling a home is more than just a transaction. It's a life-changing experience. That's why their team of highly seasoned real estate professionals is dedicated to providing exceptional, personalized services for all their clients. They truly take great pride in the relationships they build, and they always work relentlessly on the client's behalf to help them achieve their perfect real estate goals. They always have the client in mind, and I can speak firsthand when I say how reliable, trustworthy, and quick they were. When I was looking to buy my first home, they were there with me every step of the way, answering every question I could think of. They showed me a great amount of knowledge and patience through the process. It's no wonder they've won so many awards for their outstanding services and their excellent relationships with clients. So if you're looking to buy or sell, there is no better option than Clark & Co. Realty.